Why does evil exist if God is good? This question has echoed through the corridors of human history, challenging the minds of philosophers, theologians, and ordinary people alike. It's a question that stirs something deep within us, a longing for understanding, for clarity, for answers. But what if the answer isn't as simple as we hope? What if it's buried beneath layers of mystery waiting to be uncovered? Today, we're not just asking this question, we're diving into its depths. We're peeling back the layers, exploring the hidden truths that may change the way we see not just God, but the world around us. Stay with me until the end, because the answer might not be what you expect, yet it could be closer to you than you've ever imagined. The origin of the question. The question, if God is good, why does evil exist, is as old as humanity itself. It's a universal inquiry that transcends cultures, religions, and philosophies. From the earliest myths to modern debates, this issue has remained at the heart of human thought. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh lamented human suffering, asking why the gods allowed pain and death. In Greek philosophy, thinkers like Epicurus framed the paradox of a benevolent, omnipotent deity in contrast to the existence of evil. Meanwhile, Eastern traditions such as Buddhism approach suffering from a different angle, seeing it as an intrinsic part of life, rooted in desire and ignorance. This universal question also sits at the core of the Judeo-Christian worldview. The Bible introduces a God who is morally perfect, a creator who designed the universe with order and purpose. Yet it also acknowledges the existence of profound evil from the very first stories of humanity. The serpent in the Garden of Eden, Cain's act of murder, and the ensuing struggles all raise the same question. Why would a good God allow this? Different traditions have offered their own answers. Some attribute evil to human disobedience, others to cosmic forces, or the nature of existence itself. In dualistic worldviews, such as Zoroastrianism, good and evil are seen as opposing forces locked in an eternal struggle. Yet the question persists because it feels deeply personal. It's not just about wars, disasters, or injustice in the abstract. It's about the pain we experience in our lives, the heartbreak, the loss, the moments when we look up at the heavens and ask, why me? At its core, this question challenges our understanding of who God is. Can a deity be both all-powerful and all-loving, while evil continues to persist? Does the presence of suffering suggest indifference, or does it hint at a deeper mystery beyond human comprehension? It's important to remember that this question isn't just intellectual, it's emotional. It's a cry of the heart, a plea for meaning in the face of chaos. And perhaps the very fact that we ask this question is part of what makes us human, beings searching for a purpose greater than themselves. In the next segment, we'll begin to unravel this mystery by looking at one of the most compelling concepts in this debate: free will. Is it possible that the answer to why evil exists lies within us, not God? Stay with me as we explore this profound idea. The central role of free will. To understand why evil exists in a world created by a good God, we must confront the idea of free will. At its core, free will is the ability to choose between good and evil, between love and indifference, between creation and destruction. But with choice comes responsibility, and with responsibility comes the potential for harm. Imagine a world where humans lacked free will. In such a reality, every action, every thought, and every outcome would be predetermined. There would be no wars, no injustice, no betrayal, but there would also be no love, no creativity, no true relationships. Without the capacity to choose, we would be mere automatons, living in a static, lifeless world. Philosophers and theologians have long argued that free will is essential to the human experience. Without it, virtues such as courage, kindness and self-sacrifice would lose their meaning. How can bravery exist without the possibility of fear? How can forgiveness hold weight if there is no wrongdoing to forgive? The idea is that God, in His goodness, granted humanity free will as a gift that enables us to reflect His image by making meaningful choices. However, this gift comes with a cost, the potential for evil. When humans misuse their freedom, the result is pain, suffering, and injustice. Consider this: is a world without free will truly better? A perfect world devoid of choice might seem ideal at first glance, but it would lack the depth of human experience. Without free will, love itself becomes impossible. Love, after all, is not a forced action. It's a voluntary commitment, a choice to prioritize others over oneself. But free will doesn't just explain moral evil, the evil caused by human actions like violence and greed. It also forces us to grapple with the ripple effects of our choices. Pollution, for instance, may not seem like a moral evil, but its consequences, climate disasters, disease, displacement, are the result of collective human decisions. Yet, free will also holds the key to redemption. Just as we can choose to harm, we can choose to heal. Just as we can create pain, we can foster joy. This duality is both the burden and the beauty of freedom. So is God responsible for the existence of evil? Or is He the one who gave us the ability to choose, knowing that true goodness could only arise in a world where the possibility of evil exists? In the next section, we'll take this idea further, exploring how suffering itself might serve a higher purpose. Stay with me as we uncover the hidden potential within life's greatest challenges. The purpose of suffering. Suffering is one of life's greatest mysteries. When we experience pain, it feels chaotic, meaningless, and cruel. But could there be a deeper purpose to our struggles? Many traditions, both religious and philosophical, suggest that suffering is not without meaning, that it has the potential to shape, refine, and transform us. Think about this. How often have we seen stories of individuals who endured unimaginable pain only to emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate? These aren't just exceptions. They are a testament to the human spirit's ability to grow through adversity. Suffering often forces us to confront truths we'd rather ignore. It strips away distractions and brings our focus to what truly matters. For some, it deepens their faith, strengthening their connection with God or the divine. For others, it fosters resilience and a deeper appreciation for life. Consider the analogy of fire and gold. To purify gold, it must be exposed to intense heat, melting away impurities to reveal its true brilliance. Could our suffering serve a similar purpose? Could it refine our character, burning away superficial desires and revealing our inner strength? From a spiritual perspective, suffering often acts as a catalyst for transformation. In the Bible, for instance, Job's story is one of enduring profound loss and pain. Yet through his trials, he gains a deeper understanding of God and himself. Similarly, many believe that hardships help us develop empathy, patience, and perseverance, qualities that define what it means to be human. But suffering doesn't just transform individuals, it can unite communities. In times of crisis, we often see extraordinary acts of kindness and solidarity. Pain has a way of breaking down barriers, reminding us of our shared humanity. Of course, none of this means that suffering is inherently good or easy to endure. Pain hurts. It's real, raw, and often unfair. But what if the value of suffering isn't in the experience itself, but in what it can produce? Let's take a moment to reflect. How many times have challenges in your life pushed you toward growth or led to opportunities you never anticipated? Could it be that some of life's most painful moments are also the ones that define us? As we continue, we'll confront another profound question. Why does God seem silent in our suffering? Could His silence hold a hidden meaning, or is it a sign of something else entirely? Let's explore this enigma together. The silence of God in suffering. One of the most haunting aspects of suffering is the feeling of divine silence. In our darkest moments, we cry out, yearning for answers, for comfort, for a sign that we are not alone. Yet all too often, what we encounter is silence. But is God's silence a sign of absence, or something deeper? Throughout history, many have wrestled with this silence. The psalmist David wrote, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from my cries of anguish?" These words echo the cries of countless individuals who have felt abandoned in their pain. Even Jesus, in his moment of ultimate suffering on the cross, expressed this same anguish. But silence doesn't necessarily mean absence. Consider this. In human relationships, silence can be a form of presence. A parent might remain silent to allow a child to learn a valuable lesson. A teacher might step back during a test, trusting that their student has been prepared. Could God's silence function in a similar way, creating space for growth, reflection, or trust? In the stillness, we are often forced to confront ourselves. Stripped of distractions, we are left with raw, unfiltered reality. This silence can become a crucible for self-discovery and spiritual growth. It challenges us to seek meaning, to wrestle with our beliefs, and to cultivate resilience. Another perspective is that God's silence invites us to act. In times of crisis, instead of waiting passively for divine intervention, many find themselves driven to be the solution, to extend kindness, to fight for justice, or to comfort others in their suffering. Perhaps silence is God's way of nudging us to be his hands and feet in the world. Yet silence can also deepen faith. When we persist in seeking God despite not hearing his voice, it demonstrates trust, a belief that he is present, even when we cannot perceive him. This kind of faith is not blind. It is forged in the fire of doubt and struggle. So, is God truly silent, or is he speaking in ways we don't yet understand? Perhaps the silence isn't meant to isolate us, but to draw us closer, to him, to ourselves, and to the people around us. As we move forward, we'll delve into how God responds to suffering, not just in silence, but through action. Let's uncover how this response changes everything. God's response to suffering. In the face of suffering, one question inevitably arises. If God is not indifferent, how does he respond to our pain? The answer lies not in distant theories or abstract ideas, but in a profound and personal act, the incarnation of Jesus Christ. According to Christian belief, God's ultimate response to suffering was to enter the human story. Through Jesus, God didn't remain distant or detached, but became fully immersed in the human experience. He walked among us, experiencing hunger, exhaustion, betrayal, and grief. In doing so, he demonstrated that he understands suffering not as an observer, but as a participant. The cross is central to this response. It is the ultimate symbol of both suffering and redemption. Jesus endured unimaginable physical and emotional pain, rejection by his own people, abandonment by his closest friends, and the agony of crucifixion. But this suffering wasn't meaningless. Christians believe it was purposeful, a selfless act to bridge the gap between humanity and God. This narrative carries a profound message. God doesn't merely sympathize with human suffering, he shares in it. The cross stands as a declaration that God is not indifferent to our pain. Instead, he is willing to bear it himself, taking on the weight of the world's brokenness. But God's response doesn't end with suffering. It leads to hope. The resurrection of Jesus is seen as a promise that suffering and death do not have the final word. It symbolizes that, no matter how dark the night, a new dawn is possible. Pain and evil may persist in this world, but they are not ultimate. This perspective invites us to see suffering through a different lens, not as evidence of God's absence, but as an opportunity to encounter his presence in the most unexpected places. It suggests that even in our deepest pain, There is a God who walks beside us, who understands our struggles, and who offers a hope that transcends our circumstances. So, how does God respond to suffering? Not by avoiding it, but by entering into it fully. Not by erasing it instantly, but by transforming it into something that can lead to redemption and renewal. In the next segment, we'll address the different types of evil, moral and natural, and how they challenge our understanding of God's role in the world. Stay with me as we continue to peel back the layers of this profound mystery. Moral evil and natural evil. To understand the existence of suffering in a world created by a good God, we must distinguish between two types of evil, moral evil and natural evil. These categories reveal different dimensions of the problem and challenge us to think deeply about human responsibility and the natural order. Moral evil refers to the suffering caused by human choices. War, injustice, greed, violence, these are products of humanity's misuse of free will. When individuals or societies choose selfishness over compassion or hatred over love, the consequences ripple outward, causing immeasurable harm. The Holocaust, genocides, and countless other atrocities throughout history exemplify moral evil, raising the question, why does God allow humans to make choices that lead to such destruction? This brings us back to the concept of free will. Without the ability to choose, humans would lack the capacity for genuine love, creativity, or moral growth. While this freedom allows for incredible acts of goodness, it also opens the door to unimaginable cruelty. The existence of moral evil, therefore, is not a reflection of God's nature, but a consequence of humanity's autonomy. Natural evil, on the other hand, encompasses suffering caused by forces beyond human control. Earthquakes, hurricanes, diseases, and other natural disasters. These events often feel random and indiscriminate, striking fear and confusion into our hearts. Unlike moral evil, natural evil cannot be attributed to human choices, which raises a perplexing question. Why would a loving God create a world where such tragedies occur? Some suggest that natural evil is a byproduct of a world governed by physical laws. For life to exist, these laws must be consistent, which means natural processes like tectonic shifts or weather patterns are inevitable. While these processes sustain life, they can also cause destruction. From this perspective, natural evil is not a flaw in creation, but a necessary component of a dynamic, self-sustaining world. Others view natural evil through a spiritual lens, proposing that such events serve a purpose we may not fully understand. They might challenge us to grow in compassion, humility, and resilience. They also remind us of our vulnerability, prompting us to seek deeper connections with each other and with God. Still, some theorize a connection between moral and natural evil. Could humanity's actions, such as environmental destruction, exacerbate natural disasters? Are there deeper, unseen links between our collective morality and the state of the natural world? While moral and natural evils appear distinct, they converge in one crucial way. Both challenge us to confront suffering and respond to it meaningfully. They invite us to take responsibility where we can, and to find hope where answers seem elusive. In the next section, we'll widen our perspective to explore whether our understanding of evil is limited by our human vantage point. Could what we perceive as evil be part of a larger, incomprehensible plan? Let's uncover the possibilities. A greater perspective. Human understanding is often shaped by the immediate and the visible. We perceive the world through the lens of our experiences, emotions, and limited knowledge. But when it comes to the existence of evil and suffering, could it be that our perspective is too narrow to grasp the bigger picture? Imagine viewing a vast, intricate tapestry, but only seeing a small, chaotic section of tangled threads. From that limited view, it might look messy and purposeless. However, when the full design is revealed, those seemingly random threads contribute to a masterpiece. Could our experience of suffering function in the same way? A fragment of a grander narrative we cannot yet comprehend. In this greater perspective, the idea emerges that what we perceive as evil or pointless pain might serve a purpose beyond our understanding. Philosophers and theologians have long debated this concept, proposing that suffering could play a role in a divine plan. For instance, could moments of despair catalyze profound acts of love, courage, or unity that ripple through history in ways we will never fully see? Take, for example, the story of Joseph in the Bible. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and wrongfully imprisoned, Joseph endured immense suffering. Yet through those trials, he rose to a position where he could save many from famine. Reflecting on his journey, Joseph said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." This narrative suggests that even the darkest moments can contribute to a greater good. From a broader lens, suffering also challenges us to question and grow. Without trials, would humanity strive for innovation, empathy, or spiritual depth? Could the struggle against injustice, disease, or disaster be what drives humanity forward? This perspective doesn't dismiss the pain of suffering. It acknowledges its weight while suggesting that our understanding is incomplete. Perhaps our vantage point, bound by time and mortality, limits our ability to see the full scope of existence. Yet, this raises another profound question. Can we trust a plan we don't fully understand? That trust often hinges on faith in a God who is both good and wise, a belief that the threads of our lives, however chaotic they seem now, are part of a masterpiece only eternity will reveal. As we move toward the conclusion, we'll explore how embracing mystery can transform our approach to these difficult questions. Could the act of seeking itself be part of the answer? Let's dive deeper into this idea together. The invitation to mystery. When we grapple with the complexities of suffering and evil, we are often left with more questions than answers. And yet, perhaps it is not the answers we need most, but the willingness to sit in the mystery. There is an invitation here, an invitation to embrace the unknown, to seek understanding even when we cannot fully grasp it. Some of life's deepest truths are veiled in mystery. Think about love, for example. We feel it, we experience its power, but can we ever truly define it? Or the universe itself, how much do we really know about its origins or its ultimate purpose? The same can be said for suffering. It is a mystery that no matter how much we explore it, we may never fully understand. But this doesn't mean the search for meaning is in vain. In fact, the process of seeking answers may be more important than any conclusion we reach. The journey itself can transform us. As we wrestle with tough questions, we find our beliefs tested, our character refined, and our perspective deepened. The act of questioning opens the door to growth, not just intellectually, but emotionally and spiritually as well. Consider the great thinkers, philosophers, and theologians who have dedicated their lives to exploring the mysteries of life, suffering, and evil. Their quest for answers didn't lead to certainty in every case, but it led to wisdom, compassion, and a deeper understanding of the human condition. They taught us that wrestling with mystery isn't about finding the right answer. It's about becoming better versions of ourselves in the process. There's also something profoundly humbling about embracing the mystery. It reminds us that we are not in control of everything, that we don't have all the answers, and that there are greater forces at work, whether in the world, in the universe, or in our own lives. This can cultivate a sense of awe and reverence, inviting us to trust in something larger than ourselves. So what if the true answer to the question of suffering isn't a neatly packaged response? What if the answer lies in the journey itself, through the questions, the doubts, the faith, and the transformation we experience along the way? Perhaps the real beauty of this process is in the mystery itself, and the humility it calls forth in us as we seek meaning in an imperfect world. As we close this exploration, I invite you to consider your own journey with suffering and the questions that have arisen from it. How have your experiences shaped your view of the world, of God, and of yourself? And how might embracing the mystery of it all lead to deeper understanding and connection? In our next conversation, we'll take this further. What if forgiveness rather than evil is the true mystery? Stay tuned as we continue to explore the complexities of faith, life, and the profound mysteries that shape our existence. Connection with the audience. As we close this chapter of our exploration into the mysteries of suffering and evil, I want to turn the conversation toward you. The questions we've discussed today, why does suffering exist? How do we make sense of evil? Are not just abstract ideas. They touch the very core of human experience. So let me ask you, have you ever found purpose in the suffering you've endured? Perhaps you faced a moment of darkness, a time when everything seemed pointless, and yet somehow, through that trial, you emerged stronger or wiser. Do you see the threads of your life as part of a greater tapestry, one that's still being woven even if you can't see the full picture yet? I invite you to reflect on this. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Has suffering in your life led to unexpected growth or a deeper understanding? What mysteries about pain and evil have you encountered on your journey? Your experiences and insights could be the key to someone else's healing or realization. And as we wrap up, I leave you with this thought. Perhaps the true answer to our struggles and pain doesn't lie in perfect explanations, but in the way we move through them, in how we search, how we question, and how we grow despite everything. The journey itself is transformative. Next time, we'll dive deeper into another mystery that might be even more challenging than the question of evil. What if forgiveness is the ultimate enigma, the key to unlocking everything we've explored? Stay tuned and remember, your perspective and your journey matter, and we're all part of this collective search for meaning.